good.
You need them?
Please rise for the pledge of allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. This regular meeting of the Township Council is being held in accordance with the scheduled meetings of the Township Council, established and adopted by the Township Council, with scheduled designated time, date, and place of this meeting. Adequate public notice of this meeting has been provided pursuant to the provisions of the Open Public Meetings Act. We're using electronic amplifying recording device in order to obtain a clear and audible record, and request all those wishing to speak be recognized and state your name and address directly to the microphone. The recording device will be so utilized by the Township Clerk's Office for the preparation of minutes and shall be the official record of the Township Council meeting. Madam Clerk, may I have the roll call, please?
Mr. Hutchison.
Present.
Ms. Grace. Here. Mr. Mignon.
Here.
Mrs. Stubbs.
She's out ill tonight.
Mrs. Winters. Here. Mrs. Trotter. Here. Mr. Mercado.
Present.
Mr. Carlin.
Here.
Mr. Cardis.
Here.
Mr. Lechner.
Here.
Chief Harkins.
Here.
Mr. Chadwell.
Here. Welcome, everyone, and before we start, thank you, Mrs. Estrada, for overseeing the last two council meetings along the way. Thank you. We have a resolution to go into closed session, Resolution 2109-263. It's a resolution to exclude the public from discussion from exempted subject matter at our regular meeting. Entertain a motion. So,
Second.
a second. On the question, roll call, please.
Mr. Hutchison.
Yes.
Ms. Grace. Yes. Mr. Mignon.
Yes.
Mrs. Winters. Yes. Mrs. Trotter. Yes. Mr. Mercado.
Yes, the time period should be no longer than 20 minutes.
Thank you, sir. And Mike, you have them in? Here, can you give one? Yeah.
Yes.
Well, I don't want to breathe your air.
No, you should see it. I hate you in conspiracy theories. I avoid it. I mock critics sometimes. I'm judging with their FBI stuff or whatever. That's what I said. Oh, yeah, you got me. Well, you got me. But my point was, we're never going to fix it. That way is the people. I don't even bother with it. Doesn't matter. Just like everyone said. They look at the work. I'm out here. So I don't buy it. I have to make it clear that I say, I don't believe it's an issue. Because of that. It might be something else. I don't, it might be code. They just didn't say it out loud. People would, some people would like it. Yeah, more. But later in the code, we still have to truck testing. My code group doesn't quite wash out. Because we are a festival later. So it's we put it even bigger. One of these is certain things happen, yeah, so it's not the same person. So what it's saying is, he's good, he's good. And I was laugh at him. But he's right, I mean, some of the time he's probably right, but I laugh at him. Because they were, he didn't want him to get the publicity. They put in like $1,500 years, so yes, in an hour. This whole thing is sure. We all know. Yeah, right, right. Maybe that's part of it. But it's the idea. I don't think I we're in a closed session. Before we make up our own experience. When I went to that doesn't sound right. They could put the word out to volunteers, they could have got it in an hour. Yeah. They did that, they went back. We all were. Yeah, that's kind of a big thing. That's a very big thing. Getting your name out, if there's.
Still.
No, that's a visit. the rest of the tax thing. You missed the rest of that. That's. We're helping the person.
I tore off my, yeah, I tried to do a bar muscle up today. The count was right on.
Personal.
Good deal, though. Good, I appreciate it.
Thank you.
Madam Clerk, have the roll call again, please.
Mr. Hutchison?
Present.
Ms. Grace? Here. Mr. Mignon?
Here.
Mrs. Winters? Here. Mrs. Strato? Here. Mr. Mercado?
Present.
Mr. Parliamentary?
Here.
Mr. Curtis?
Here.
Mr. Lechner? Chief Harkins?
Here.
Mr. Chavo?
That was, we were discussing two workers' comp cases and possible settlements. Is there anything else I need to add, Mr. Parliament?
No, that's it. Still a closed session.
Thank you. Now open up our first public portion. This is for agenda items only. Anyone wishes to address council, please raise your hand. Once all those wishing to speak have had their turn, they may address council a second time. Each speaker is limited to 3 minutes, and there's a maximum of 15 minutes for the public portion. Does anyone like to speak for the public portion for agenda items only? Mr. Heinball.
Good evening again, Pete Heinball, Morningstar Court.
Good evening, Pete.
For resolution, on the agenda, resolution 279, that's a resolution where we're increasing the COVID business assistant grant from $5,000 per grant to $10,000 per grant. Was this because not all the CV3 grant funds ever assigned to this were not spent?
A couple of things. I know we have a representative from Triad. I'll start, and then who'd like to tag in. We need to put more money out on the street. We have not exhausted the funds that we were awarded. So this is an opportunity to provide some additional dollars to some of our businesses here. One of the questions that I asked Mr. Cardis earlier today, and maybe the representative from Triad can also answer, is that if I receive the $5,000 grant, can I come back again and get an additional $5,000? So Tom, were you able to get that answer?
Yeah, you can. It does not necessarily mean that you will be able to automatically go to 10. It could be, you would go somewhere between 5 and 10, maybe 7,500. And I believe Jake can explain that from Trident.
Jake, would I have to go through that process all over again or just update it?
No, so with applicants that have already been awarded, we're going to go back and retroactively award them. The awards are being done on a sliding scale based on the expenses, the 2-month expenses of the businesses. So for example, if they've got $0 to $10,000 in expenses, the award stays at $5,000. If they've got $10,000 to $20,000 worth of expenses over 2 months, the award goes to $7,500. If they exceed that $20,000, the award goes to $10,000. It's the way the revision is written tonight anyway.
Okay.
So we'll go back and retroactively award based on those numbers. There's no need to reapply.
Okay. This time.
Yes, thank you, thank you. Was there any other consideration given for that unspent fund? Any other purpose considered for those unspent funds? And the reason I asked, when this program first was offered by the federal government to municipalities, one of the main reasons they wanted to offer it was to give rent assistance and mortgage assistance to residents who needed assistance. Was any consideration given to using some of this unspent CB3 money for that?
Ms. Cards? Not to my knowledge, no.
County's doing it also, but these funds could have been used too.
I'll defer to Jake again, but I don't believe that was the case for him as well.
No, but I guess the question was Tom was stating that could this have been used, additional funds for residential needs?
You could have used some of the CB3 funding to run a rental relief program that would have benefited low and moderate income residents. There are some other restrictions and things that come along with it. For this particular funding, there's no additional funding being added to the program. There's $425,000 allocated for this program. Initially, they settled on a lower grant amount because they weren't sure how many participants there were going to be, and they wanted to spread the funding as much as they could. There's been relatively low participation from the businesses of the township, and so therefore they're going really retroactively. The discussion was maybe it should have been 10,000 maximum in the first place instead of 5. So we're just making that adjustment so that we can get more of the funding spent. And even with the retroactive, I think that the funding at this point to spend is about $207,000 if we go back and retroactively award based on.
Can we pivot to low to moderate?
That was really my question.
That's-
Thank you.
We can talk about it. I'm not the CDBG expert, so I would want to consult our team at the Trier to answer that really well. But if you would like to end this program and take the money that hasn't been expended and use it for other things, it is.
At some point, I want to make sure that the businesses in the town, you fully explore that, but I don't want to wait too long. Pivot to the rental assistance aspect, but that's,
There is other funding that is likely to be coming down through that CD program as well.
okay.
So when this CB3 was awarded, there was a budget put together where different line items were spent, the biggest one being the small business assistance program, and that's some of that's unspent. Do we have the rest of the CB3 budget? How is the actual spending that's happening compared to what the original budget was? We know that?
I do not have that on hand. No, I wouldn't have that.
But you understand my question. If there's a
Yeah.
budget for CB3, we already know we didn't spend some of
That's
it.
something that we can provide to you afterwards, because.
Oh, yeah, for sure. I'll send an email. I'll send,
had that.
I understand. I'll send an email. It's fine. And also again, with the Economic Development Corporation, on the August agenda for their meeting, I saw discussion of this topic was on the Economic Development Corporation's agenda to have a discussion on this topic. What would the Economic Development Corporation have to do with these small business grants?
I would imagine that they would try to promote this program to their charge with particularly Blackwood West, but throughout the township.
I thought we had a promotion. Yeah, I thought we had a promotion effort already for this.
And I would imagine that Triad, along with what we do here with our social media, will reach out to these businesses that received their grant to make them aware that if this resolution passes, that there'll be an increase possibly.
Yeah, try it. But my question is, why is the Economic Development Corporation involved in this discussion?
Why not?
Because they champion.
Because they're not a government
economic
entity.
Well, why
They're
not?
not a government entity.
What happens if the Rotary? What happens if the Rotary wants to have a discussion about it? Would you be opposed to that?
No, but we had government representatives attend this meeting to discuss it with the Economic
My
Development
question is,
Corporation.
why would we want to
Okay,
discuss
so
it by EDC?
the more I hear about this Economic Development Corporation, and I'm rehashing something here that's not part of the agenda, the less it sounds like a separate private entity. The more it sounds like it's completely, in fact, not legal technicality, but in fact, a government entity. I think that needs to be challenged a little bit more. And that's what I'm doing. Thank you.
All right, thank you very much. Is there anyone else? Mr. Polidoro?
City Council, Ray Polidoro from the Historic Village of Ariel. Welcome back, Mr. Mercado. Just briefly, as we run through the agenda, if we can hear the public that wants to speak in this microphone. We can't hear Mr. Mercado, having trouble hearing you in the back. And
I was
when
all spoken this evening.
When Triad and anyone else is answering a public question, we get text messages from people watching on the live stream that are just hearing dead silence. So if you could bring your microphones close to you, and anyone else that's answering a question by the public, be so kind to step up to the microphone so everyone could hear. Greatly appreciate it.
Will do. Thank you. Anyone else? Yes, Mr. Krug.
Evening Council, Paul Krug, Blackwood Estates. My question is regarding Resolution 270, 271, and 272. Does Public Works currently have a 3-yard, 7-yard, and 30-yard dump trucks?
We do have dump trucks. I don't have an inventory of those. I could provide that to you tomorrow.
Sure. Has council seen an inventory of the dump trucks that we have with Public Works? And are they past their useful life at this point that we need a new 3-year, 7-year, 30-yard dump truck?
I have not, but Mr. Cardis oversees, along with or supervises the Public Works Department, and they sit down in our capital budget meetings and discuss that with the administration on their needs. And they believe that there is a need for this equipment, and it moves forward through the mayor's office and Tom and council, and there's a need for it. Same thing with the police chief. The police chief has 10 new cars that come in every year. I'm not out there doing an inventory on the cars, checking the tires and tread and their usefulness.
So these requests come from the supervisor of vehicles. That's Roman Harris. I have a great deal of respect for him, and if he puts in a request, it's usually a legitimate request. I don't ever remember a situation where he put in something that he did not need. And sometimes we have to tell him no. But in this case, I believe that these are necessary because he's saying that, that there's aging with the other vehicles. I could provide you a list of those vehicles with the ages of the vehicles and the mileage. I don't know if I can get it for you tomorrow, but I can do that.
Mr. Cars, just to add to that, there is a lead time to order these particular trucks.
There is.
Sometimes it could take up to a year.
True. I'm hoping that we will have these dump trucks in before it snows, if it snows.
Is there a useful life for these dump trucks from either an accounting perspective or?
There is, and it's in the New Jersey NJSA bond law. It's listed in there. I don't know what the exact useful life is.
Do we know if ours are over that? Over our standard?
I
or
would say
over
just saying extemporaneously that they're definitely over because we run our equipment pretty much to the ground.
I would just ask that council maybe review the inventory sheet and ensure that these are past their useful life. Trust but verify is always good. So thank you.
Thank you. Is there anyone else? Close first public portion. Waive the reading, accept the minutes of executive session August 9th, 2021, and regular session August 9th and August 23rd of 2021. I entertain a motion.
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
On the question, roll call, please.
Mr. Hutchinson.
Yes.
Ms. Graves. Yes. Mr. Mignani.
Yes.
Mrs. Winters. Yes. Mrs. Estrada?
Yes.
Mr. Mercado?
I'm abstaining from all three. Bid report,
One 3-yard dump truck, one 7-yard dump truck, one 30-yard triaxle dump truck, online tax sale hosting services, 2021 NJDOT Trust Fund of Kelly Driver Road Phase 4, 2021 Cherrywood Road Improvement Program Phase 9.
I entertain a motion to accept the bid report.
Before we do that, can I ask a question, Mr.
Yes, sir.
Mr. Cardis, for everybody's benefit, I'm noticing that there was one bid for each of these 3 vehicles. Is that customary?
It does happen. I would say to you, I don't know, because I don't know what happened in the last couple of years. I'd have to look, but it does happen where we do have that.
Did we check to see, and I don't mean to put you on the spot here, but did we check to see if the prices were fair?
I spoke with Mr. Harrison before we even talked about putting it on for an award, and he felt that they were accurate prices.
One last question. If the answer to that question was different, what could we do in order to not accept this bid report? What would you do? Like if the only bid is,
I would recommend the
50%.
council reject it
okay,
and authorize you to advertise.
and we're not doing it, you didn't recommend that.
Okay, I'm not recommending that you award it.
I'll make the motion.
So second,
Second.
on the question, roll call, please.
Mr. Hutchison?
Yes.
Ms. Grace? Yes. Mr. Leo?
Yes.
Mrs. Winters? Yes. Mrs. Estrada?
Yes.
Mr. Mercado?
Yes. Next is the ordinance. There's a second reading. There will be a public hearing. Ordinance of the Township of Gloucester, County of Camden, State of New Jersey, adopting amendment number 5, amending ordinance 0-04-13, entitled the Blackwood West Redevelopment Plan, in accordance with NJSA 40A-12A-1 EDSEC Local Redevelopment and Housing Law. This ordinance amends, it's amendment number 5. It permits office use and accessory vehicles of electrician, plumber, painter, and similar establishments in the Blackwood West redevelopment zone at 44 West Church Street. We'll now open up the public hearing. Anyone wish to speak? Seeing none, we close the public hearing. Can I entertain a motion?
So moved.
Is there a second? Thank you. On the question, roll call, please.
Mr. Hutchison?
Yes.
Ms. Grace? Yes. Mr. Leo?
Yes.
Mrs. Winters? Yes. Mrs. Estrada?
Yes.
Mr. Mercado?
Yes, next we have our resolution with consent agenda. Any council member would like to move any of the items on the consent agenda, please speak up. Hearing none, I entertain a motion to accept the consent agenda as presented.
I'll make that motion.
Second.
On the question, roll call, please.
Mr. Hutchison?
Yes.
Ms. Grace? Yes. Mr. Leo?
Yes.
Mrs. Winters? Yes. Mrs. Estrada?
Yes.
Mr. Mercado?
Yes. We have 2 eGov access emails. Okay, the first is from Kiana Verios of 7 Nashua Drive, Sicklerville, New Jersey. Hi, my family is new to the South Jersey area. We moved from Central Jersey and decided to purchase our second home in Sicklerville. Since May, I've been trying to reach the Department of Public Works regarding the large amount of trash alongside Sicklerville Road, 705 Cross Street, Berlin Cross Keys. This truly makes the area look disgusting, let alone it's hazardous. Previously, there were overgrown trees which caused driving issues due to how far the branches stuck out. I called in about that and they came out and they cut them. I made many calls, sent email, and for months, nothing has been done. Is there any reason why so much litter is not being removed from the county road? My hope is that this issue can be resolved as a new family to the area. We love the area, but hate to see it be so poorly maintained. Kiana Barrios. As she stated, this is a county road. Have we received, Mr. Carson, any of these emails to Public Works, or where is she, do you know where she directed these emails and calls?
I have not seen any emails from her.
Okay. But this is a county road that she's addressing that intersection.
It is a county road, okay.
So we'll contact the county on her behalf, and I'll reach out to Ms. Barrios at her phone number or email. Next question is from Denise Coyne. Choose 1062 Landing Road, Laurel Springs. Question for council, revised question number 4. In number 1, in November of 2019, council approved an amended redevelopment plan and study for the villages of Gloucester. Mr. Lechner stated at the time that most of the lots in the study area will qualify and a few would not. He said the lots that did not qualify could be included because they would advance the plan. 2 years later, only 2 of the 16 lots qualified, and the draft report states none of the study area properties will be needed for effective development. What changed? This is a result of the analysis that Stansel Hepka at T&M Associates, they undertook an analysis that was consistent with the statutory criteria and the requirements set forth in the local redevelopment housing law. It represents his personal opinion on whether the properties in the study area are in need of redevelopment. 2, the villages of Gloucester is approximately 187 acres. Why did we pay for a study to advance opportunities for only that one block area? This is the area that's included in the resolution directing the planning board to undertake the investigation, the preliminary investigation and the redevelopment study. It is noted that the properties in the area have a significant size and depth in comparison to the other properties in that area of the Black Horse Pike. 3, at the July 12th meeting, council president said he would follow up with the mayor to see if the community can be included in future redevelopment planning discussions. What was the mayor's response? The mayor welcomes the community to become involved. They're all stakeholders, particularly in certain areas when there's a redevelopment plan. But the mayor welcomes community involvement and participation in these discussions. 4, there has been a redevelopment plan in place for the village of Gloucester since 2015. An amendment to that plan has been in the works for almost 2 years. Stakeholders exist, regardless of whether there have been stakeholder meetings or not. Why will T&M not identify who stakeholders are? In response, this is from Mr. Slacker, in response to a previous OBRA request, we stated that it was our understanding that no stakeholders had been identified yet for the villages of Gloucester redevelopment plan. The municipality is typically responsible for identifying relevant stakeholders, which we would review with the municipality before it is finalized. As previously stated, if the township has a list, they have not seen it and we have not discussed it. Are you aware of any stakeholders? Again, we talked about stakeholders. They would be individuals or residents, businesses, institutions in that particular area. Has there been a meeting with stakeholders involved, Mr. Lechner, that you've been part of?
Not that I would recall, no.
Thank you very much. We'll now open up the second public portion. This is for any item. There's a 30-minute time limit, and each speaker is entitled to 5 minutes. Now open up the second public portion. Anyone wish to speak? Mr. Polidoro.
Good evening again, Council. Rick Polidoro from Ariel. Just a basic question. You may need to Remington Vernick, but in 2020 and 2021, roughly how many times did our township appeal to the state for transportation trust fund money for our local streets? Local streets, okay.
Official grant, I believe, once for the state aid.
2021 or 2020?
Once each,
Once in each. Thank you.
I believe.
Okay. The subject that just won't go away because it can't. Market affordable. So hypothetically, if you do procure one home and take it from market to affordable, what would that property tax rate be on that house once it becomes deemed affordable? Would it remain at the market value property tax, or would there be some stipulation to a new tax? Because if it's an affordable home and the property tax is still high, how would the township determine that?
Mr. Collier?
No, I would think that's a question for the assessor. My guess would be it would be reassessed. Once it's declared restricted to market affordable, that value would be reassessed, that's the assessor's question.
Okay, so basically, if you're at number 2, you're paying 10,000 a year. Number 6 could possibly be reassessed down because it now is reassessed at a,
It could be, but again, that's a question for the assessor.
okay.
So,
And
Greg, I got a good question. So you think that house, was a market to affordable house, and that it should be assessed, you believe it should be assessed at a different rate?
no, I believe I had a question because many of these questions went unanswered about what the market affordable program. We've questioned the even necessity for that. And some of the times even the questions have been going back and forth. And the answers are starting to come about. But again, that was just a question because did you know, I wasn't sure which direction that would go in. And would it remain at that value? Like I said, you could have number 2 at 10,000 and number 6 could be 4,000. And if that's the case, we have a net revenue loss at that particular home in the same block where most of the residents are paying around 10,000. And, is there a makeup of that? Does the Affordable Housing Trust Fund make up? What makes up that?
I guess the reason I ask, I'm sorry, Dan, the reason I ask is, I don't know if you recall, but when I worked in Camden, there was a house it was the home improvement show. They took a house in Kramer Hill, renovated the home, and unfortunately the people lost them because they couldn't pay the taxes. They got a beautiful new home in middle Kramer Hill, but they could not afford the taxes there. So that's a good question, question entertaining the housing authority.
Okay, and also, if, once again, you should procure that one home, that very first home, to do this, not that I'm saying you will, would that
What
be,
would you do if that does happen, Ray?
what would I do? I'm not a government official, there's nothing
I
I
would
can
invite you, okay, when that does happen.
do. Would that be deemed an affordable home and all the things go along with it for a period of 30 years? Is that correct also?
What do you think, 30 years?
Once it's deemed,
I thought you were talking about the date. When I hear 30 years.
There is a deed restriction imposed on that type of situation.
and that would be for approximately the length of 30 years or something. Okay, so if in the event that does happen, we're talking maybe about a reassessment, a new tax value to that home, and that would be for a length of 30 years. Okay, and again, we still have been looking for answers to why the affordable market to affordable is even necessary. If it doesn't count against our required numbers, 22 months has passed and 0 results have come about, and money continues to go out and no progress, no anything. I believe I heard in the last meeting they may be looking at something. It's 22 months later. It's the difference is, and I believe we've had this conversation. The idea started when we had a lot of vacant homes. It may have been a good idea at that time. People are coming to Gloucester Township. People are buying homes at market value, and it would be let's let the market decide what some of them homes will be. We're doing what we're supposed to do for the affordable housing. We're doing all of that, and taking another group of homes that are on the market at market value and taking them into a program that's not going to change our numbers, our required numbers. It just seems like nonsense. And from what we're hearing from Mr. Murray and Housing Authority, they really don't seem to be able to prove that this program is needed at all. We're at a point right now, maybe it's time to ask Mr. Murray to step aside. And I believe it was Mr. Hutchison that said there was an ordinance that was passed at the time that would allow for that to happen. If that is the case, then it would only take the act of another ordinance to make it go away and stop spending money on something that has a 0 result. And maybe do a good governmental thing and do away with something that's absolutely useless. Again, welcome back, Mr. McConnell. Thank you for your time.
Thank you, Rick. Is there anyone else? Mr. Krug?
Evening again, council. Council President, it makes me uneasy when I bring up what I feel is a relevant question about the useful lifespan of equipment here in the township. And you would suggest that I'm asking you to go out, kick the tires, and change the oil. I'm simply asking whether or not the information about the lifespan of these trucks and their useful life was reviewed. Now, you may have been off the cuff with the comment, but it certainly doesn't show to the public that you're taking the concern seriously.
Mr. Krug, I have a director of public works who's also the business administrator, and I have an administration and supervisors that oversee the public works department. I'm not going to have an accounting of how many tow trucks we have, or dump trucks, or weed whacker. I'm not going to have that information for you. So
So you,
I
you,
just,
you
I'm not,
could- you
no, I
could have
rely
said-
on, I
you
rely
could have
on,
said,
I rely
spoke
on,
with
I
Tom
rely on
Vargas.
the information that I receive.
Right.
There's a capital budget hearing that takes place, where a discussion takes place, where these things are vetted through. And I'm aware that these things are being ordered. I'm also aware that there's a lead time that for these, to get these type of vehicles in our township. It takes time. I'm sorry I don't have that, and I'm sorry I made you feel uneasy.
Well, you explained yourself much better right there than you did when the original question arose. But it would have just taken a simple, I spoke with the township administrator. He explained to me that these are of necessity, having spoken to the public works administrator, instead of you expect me to kick the tires and change the oil.
No, I didn't
Simple
say
as,
that.
simple as that.
Mr. Krug, please move on.
Certainly. With regard to Denise's question about community stakeholders and the administration's openness to that, you've had a young gentleman in front of you for nearly 2.5 years now, showing interest in the Blackwood West redevelopment plan. Ken Lechner has known about it, his council has known about it, people in the community have known about it. It would seem reasonable to me that that young gentleman would be invited to a community meeting, community stakeholder meeting about that area. I have never heard of community outreach. No one, apart from Councilman Dan Hutchison, has reached out to me to go down into that area, engage about what would be a responsible approach to that area. So I find it hard to believe that the answer is that the administration is open to it and actively seeking it out. And I would offer myself as a prime example of that. Thank you. Have a good evening.
Thank you. Anyone else? Ms. Point?
Back to the village of Gloucester, villages of Gloucester. The proposal from T&M Associates to do the study and the amended report on that project stated that the project would be completed within 3 or 4 months. It's been almost 2 years. And as far as I know, we only have a draft study report. And I believe we did the amended report, which cost us $23,000 on top of $12,500 for the study, because the 2015 plan that was done was outdated. So here we are 2 years later, and we paid all this money for an amended plan that isn't completed. And last I asked when it would be completed, I got the answer, we're handling Blackwood West first. So is there any time frame for the completion of this project, or another year from now, are we gonna spend thousands of dollars more for another amended plan because this amended plan is outdated?
Mr. Lackner, are you aware of the time frame? And if not, I'll contact Mr. Slack or myself and ask for a conclusion of this study.
Want me to answer on the mic?
Yes, sir.
Let me first say, I was the planner that did the 2015 plan. I take that's the date. it's just because it's in 2015 does not mean it's outdated. Most redevelopment plans could last 20 years. Just wanted to go study the area more in depth for that whole corridor. Point two is I don't know of a specific timeline because of the pandemic. You know, it delayed a lot of things, meetings, virtual meetings. So now that we're coming out of that, I think things will probably turn around. I could, either myself or if you, Council President, want to speak with the mayor on whether or not there's to talk to Stan Slek on giving us a more definitive timeline. But I don't know of anything other than what was in the proposal. Everything went amok with the pandemic.
I'll reach out to Stan, copy you on it, and also copy Mayor. Thank you. At this point, at the next meeting, I'll have an answer.
Thank you, I appreciate it. And also regarding the stakeholders, we've been told that the mayor's a stakeholder, Ken Lechner's a stakeholder, the business owners are stakeholders. And I noticed in the billing for T&M Associates, they bill for stakeholder prep meetings, prepare for a meeting with Mayor and Ken Lechner, follow up with the meeting for Mayor and Ken Lechner. They bill for phone calls to Dino and Amadeo Trongolo, who are landowners and business owners. I asked in my Oprah if they had any discussions with any business owners or landowners, and they replied no. But they billed for phone conversations with business owners and landowners. And then I asked if they met with any stakeholders, and the answer is no, but they billed for meetings with Ken Lechner and the mayor. So I'm confused. If the mayor and Ken Lechner are stakeholders, they had meetings with stakeholders. So why am I being told that they did not? Why am I being told that they didn't speak to landowners and business owners when they're billing the taxpayer for doing so? So there seems to be messages regarding this, and I really don't understand why. Why can't I just get a straight answer that's factual?
The answer I received from Mr. Slek was no, they didn't meet with stakeholders.
Okay, but these.
But I know you said that in the bill, that they spoke to individuals, and they consider the mayor and Mr. Lechner as stakeholders.
Okay, they also spoke to Dino and Amadeo
Yes,
Trongolo.
the businesses
They
that
did.
you talked about.
Yes,
Okay.
and they said they didn't. And my response to those responses from them were emailed to you, to Ken Lechner, to Mr. Carlin, and to Tracy Trotto, and it's been almost a month, and nobody's gotten back to me with any clarification on it.
Well, the responses to that there were stakeholders there, there were.
That their responses to me were not factual and not valid. And I stated that I would like factual responses to my questions, and I still don't have it.
So you believe they're telling you a story?
Something's not adding up. I'm not in a position to say what it is, but I would
You're
like
saying
to
it's
know.
not, you said you wanted factual answers.
Yes,
So you believe they're telling you a story?
I did, yes.
Okay. All right, so let's get you some answers. I'll reach out to them as well. And I'll say, you know what, we received information from a resident that indicated that according to the billing, that you had conversations with business owners along that corridor. Are they not stakeholders?
And they also billed for stakeholder meetings.
Okay. You may, you know what, you may be dealing with semantics too, as far as how they bill. But I will get clarification for you.
I would appreciate it.
Excuse me, Mr. Crawford?
I think the problem is the use of the word stakeholder. How is that in someone's mind? Is that members of the committee, like the mayor, Ken, or is that property owners? I think the term stakeholders, first I heard about it, identifying on a broad scale when it started coming from the public. I never heard the term stakeholders dealt with any redevelopment zone. So it might just be a misunderstanding. What is a stakeholder? You seem to have a broad definition of stakeholder that includes everybody that talks about it. And they might, in their mind, say, well, a stakeholder is who is on the committee, the mayor, the planner, or council member, or whatever. Who are we working with? Develop this. When, in essence, I would tend to think the more I hear the term stakeholder, it's the residents that are in that community. They're the ones that are going to be affected by the redevelopment zone. So it might be a semantics, you know. When we first started talking about this, what is a stakeholder?
But I'm gonna seek clarification because this thing just keeps repeating over and over again. So I'm gonna get you that clarification.
And, Mr. Carly, I understand that that can be confusing, which is why I asked Mr. Checker when he was here for the definition of stakeholders, and he clearly defined that for me at the previous meeting. So I did get a clarification on that, and that was prior to him answering my good question. So,
My only concern, Denise, is that, you know, we're listening to you. And I think that the intentions of council president are to get an answer to your question. My fear, though, is that when he comes back, he may not answer the specific concerns that you have. So if you don't mind, could you just frame the question so that we do get the answers to the question that we want? Not saying it verbally here, but just send another specific question to him so that we can make sure you answer the question.
sure, thank you.
Is there anyone else? For the second public portion, calling the directors.
Mr. Carlin,
Nothing to report.
Mr. Curtis,
Nothing to report.
Mr. Lechner,
Nothing to report.
Chief Harkins,
I just want to thank the council members that joined us. I'm very proud of the way Gloucester Township recognized the 9/11 attacks. We had a ceremony down at the Shoes Landing Fire Department, which was well attended by the public, many first responders, as well as some members here. I also would invite council, if you get a chance, on the Friday before on September 10th, the mayor and I attended at Timber Creek High School a dedication of a memorial. It is well worth taking a ride to look at that memorial. It's directly in front of the school. They acquired 2 pieces of steel. They have plaques commemorating emergency services, military, and the victims of the 9/11 attack. It's a beautiful memorial out there. It's one of the first that I could see you can actually touch steel from the trade center. So it's really, really nice. And we recall that school was scheduled to open on September 12th, 2001. It was their 20th anniversary. And of course, that got thrown off. In addition, I just want to ask council to remember, we had a longtime lieutenant who's been retired now since, I think, 2000. He served here for 27 years. Passed away this week on September 10th, Lieutenant Louis Hogue, longtime resident of Glendora. I met with the family today. He was, when I got hired, he was my first lieutenant, and he was a mentor to me. I wouldn't be where I am as a police officer or a leader without him, but he's a longtime fixture, still supporting the police department, active member of the Fraternal Order of the Police. So I just ask you to remember him and his family as he'll be laid to rest this week, and may he rest in peace, and we thank him for his service. Thank you.
Mr. Chadwick,
Your report.
Mr. Hutchison,
Briefly, Paul, you should be involved in anything to do with Blackwood West. I agree with that. So, you know, if it comes by me, I'm going to try and reach out to you. If I don't reach out to you, it's because I just missed the ball. But you are very interested. You always come to these meetings. You've made it a priority in your life, and you've brought it up to us. So I recognize that. Also, with regard to the inventory list, yeah, I mean, I guess I understood what you were saying and what Orlando was saying. I don't know how to evaluate, other than, you know, your example, whether or not a vehicle is past its useful life. I mean, I guess we can look at a tax code to determine what the useful life is for tax purposes, but in terms of the actual vehicle itself, I wouldn't know how to evaluate that. So I, as a council person who knows nothing about cars or mechanized modes of transportation, have to rely upon the business administrator, the Roman, et cetera. And I think that's kind of where Orlando was saying, I don't think he was being really dismissive. I don't. 9/11 just passed. You know, my wife and I watched a lot of the shows with regard to 9/11, and a lot of people lost their lives. You know, a lot of firemen, police officers, good people, not only lost their lives that day, but have been suffering with sickness since then, and I think we have to keep them in our thoughts and prayers. So, thank you very much.
Ms. Grace? Everyone have a great night. Mr. Munir?
Thank you all for coming. Please be safe going home. Good night.
Mrs. Winters?
Thank everyone for coming out and comments, and just my bi-monthly reminder, please be safe, wear masks when appropriate, and, take care of yourselves.
Mrs. Trotter?
Thank you all for coming out and have a good week.
Mr. Mercado?
Well, thank everyone for coming out this evening. Just echo what the chief had stated earlier regarding the 9/11 service at Choose Fire Department. That's something that Choose has been doing for many, many years. The road was closed off, and the various fire departments were there, along with the Gloucester Township Police Department, and they do a wonderful job memorializing the individuals that perished on 9/11. So again, thank you for being part of that. This Friday is the last movie night in Veterans Park. That's Soul, the movie that's being played, and I'll start at dusk. On this Saturday, there is a time capsule burial at Gabriel Davies Tavern at 1 o'clock in Glendora. And then the following week on September 25th is the Gloucester Township Drive-In Movie Night at Kingdom County College. The Karate Kid, the original Karate Kid from the 80s, is going to be playing. The Pumpkin Festival has been canceled. If you didn't see that notification, that was due to a lack of volunteers and resources. That's Mainstage's biggest fundraiser of the year, and the township partners with Mainstage. Unfortunately, they could not pull that off this year, so that has been canceled. In addition to that, we will not be celebrating Hispanic Heritage Month in our council chambers. This variant has bothered me. I don't want additional people in here. I want people to come to attend meetings, but that's a celebratory event, and I want to keep everyone safe. So we will not be celebrating Hispanic Heritage Month in the month of September or into October. And lastly, Benjamin Coates, who was a member of the Living Word Bible Fellowship Church and headed up the food bank at 123 Church Street, passed away this past week. Ben was did not live in our town, but was a vital member of our town. Ben always opened up the food bank on our MLK Day of Service and would ask for volunteers, was one of our project leaders. He asked for a 3 cubic dumpster once, so I can't provide that. I can provide volunteers, but was a remarkable man, and he will be missed. So keep his family in your prayers and thoughts. With that, now I entertain a motion to adjourn. Is there a second?
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Have a great evening, everyone.
I have one. You'll love it. You'll keep it short.